Good morning. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. If you could take your seats, we're a little bit behind schedule. So if you please could come in and take your seats. We are live, which I hope you're all aware. We are live broadcast on YouTube, so welcome also the people joining us online. In a traditional conference type event, you traditionally start with your plenary and then you have your other things and you have a nice time. And obviously in Interact, we like to do things a little bit less orthodoxly. So welcome to the plenaries, which start closing the harvesting event. If you've seen our social media posts, you'll know there are over 250 people here coming from over 80 programs, as well as member states and non-member states to talk about the future of Interreg. We're very grateful for DG REGIO for financing this event and enabling it to happen. Interreg's very grateful to be able to support with the content, and we're very happy and grateful to the programs for all the contributions that you've given us over the sessions before. If you notice, there aren't many Interact colleagues in a room. They're busy in a back room somewhere planning the afternoon and how they respond to all the feedback you've given them. So we're very grateful to the contribution, especially in this session from DG REGIO, who are going to help us with the facilitation and guiding us through the next 90 minutes, where we will talk about the consultations that programs have been running, in particular, where you've been talking to your citizens and your stakeholders about the future of Interreg, and it's a chance for us also to reflect on the wider process. And now I think we're mostly in the room and settled. It's my great privilege to introduce the director of Interreg, Sławomir Tokarski, who's going to come and take my spot and talk to you a little bit more about the process and why we're here. Sławomir.
Thank you, Kevin. I think it's good to see you all here. And I would like to use this occasion to share with you a couple of reflections regarding citizens' engagement, but maybe also more broadly to tell you where we are with our discussion on the future of Interreg. But first, I would like to thank the Interreg program for organizing both this event and also the whole post-27 consultation process. And we are really aware that this task was more than challenging, not only from the timing perspective, but also because of the uncertainty that is still around the future of the Union's policies. So thank you. Now, hopefully, we should see clear policy orientations over the next few months, with the new college being validated by the Parliament and hopefully getting the final approval from the Parliament tomorrow. And this finally should enable the new Commission to start work already next week as foreseen, without any delays. And I hope that since our online meeting at the beginning of November, you had the chance to watch a bit of hearings of the new college, especially that of Executive Vice President Designate for Cohesion and Reforms, Mr. Raffaele Fitto, on 12th November. And I think that this hearing was a good opportunity to hear his views on the role of regions within future cohesion policy, but he also confirmed that he sees Interreg as an important instrument, notably on the EU's external borders. So as soon as Mr. Fitto goes in his office, we will invite him to Interreg Go high-level event next March. And I do hope that you all have received an invitation to register and that you will do so. And this event really should be a major Interreg celebration. It will recall key cooperation achievements over the last 35 years. It will confirm that Interreg has a unique role to play for EU regions and beyond. We have to show that world without Interreg is much worse than world with Interreg. So it will be also the moment where the most creative ideas from you, from Interreg programs, citizens, and stakeholders, Interreg community, will be discussed and promoted. And on this occasion, once again, I really would like to underline the importance of this post-27 consultation. It started in Santiago and will culminate on the border territory of Gorizia, Nova Gorizia in March, and I think this is the first time that program stakeholders and citizens have been asked about their views on and aspirations for future Interreg and cooperation in this way. So yesterday and today we have been actively listening to your opinions and concerns, and let me assure you that nothing is predetermined at this stage and that your voice really counts. I mean, our hearts are pure. So Certainly, we will not be able to give you immediate reaction to what comes out of these discussions. However, your ideas will be summarized in the harvesting report, and we will use them as a key reference tool when developing the legal rules for future Interreg next year. And furthermore, the core of ideas will also be presented to the larger political audience and discussed during the Interreg Go event. But meanwhile, let me just briefly share with you a few thoughts about Interreg after 2027 that should shape and drive our work forward. And certainly the starting point is to maintain the elements of the instrument that work well and preserve those features which need to remain in place to enable successful cooperation across the borders. In other words, joint programs, joint structures, multi-level governance and partnership. However, given the general economic and socio-political context, you know about huge budgetary pressures, you know about new challenges that we have to face, we cannot afford to be simply doing business as usual. We are also a part of a bigger picture. And as you probably heard, President von der Leyen has announced that the new budget will be more focused, simpler, and impactful. That also has a meaning for us. So this will affect both cohesion policy and Interreg, and we will be thus called to simplify the way in which we work together. And he is saying that we always done it this way and there is no need to change, will not take us far. So inter alia would entail shifting the focus from expenditure to results, but I would like to assure you that there are really different ways to achieve this. We are looking into meaningful solutions together with you of making it a sensible way and making it such a way that bring advantages to Interreg rather than constraints. So we really count here, and also it's a good occasion for you on your valuable contributions and ideas in this respect. We would also like to reinforce the potential of Interreg to involve more those that need to be on board to achieve a sort of systematic change across the borders. And this is really our unique strength, which can increase the impact of our programs and projects well beyond the funding. And I think in this context we have good news, because finally after, well, what was that, 8 years of negotiations, we managed to move cross-border facilitation tool to the stage of negotiations with the Parliament and with the Council. And there are good hopes that this negotiation can last a relatively short period of time. Of course, this has been done where we had to renounce to some part of the ambition that we had regarding this instrument, but we really hope that the effect will be like with EGTC, that those who decided to pick it up, they will mobilize also the others to go along the same way. We also need to look beyond our sometimes too traditional set of program partners and bring in new actors and new ideas. And I think this fits very well with the next panel on citizens and stakeholder engagement. Today's challenges require more bottom-up approaches and solutions, so they really require participation at grassroots levels. We need active people, and they need concrete ways to shape the future of the regions in which they live. And I think that Interreg really already attaches great importance to the involvement of citizens, to empower them to act on the changes that are needed. We are good at it, but at the same time we need to do more. We cannot ignore the calls for more democracy. We cannot ignore the calls to address polarization. We cannot ignore the calls of the people who felt without voice and who felt left beyond. We have to respond to this call. And at the same time, involving citizens contributes to the achievements of the Interreg objectives. Interreg benefits from this involvement to build more trust, solidarity, and a common identity across borders. And I think also the Commission, we are seeing this. We had organized a week ago in Brussels a meeting with 100 young people called Youth for Cooperation. They also involve Interreg youth volunteers and other young people involved in their cooperation. And that was a very meaningful exercise for all of us. And we could see, and I think it was also very encouraging, that their thinking goes in a similar direction than your thinking and our thinking. So I think our views in a way coincide and converge. So we look forward to hearing about the results of your program's consultations with your citizens. And I know it has been sometimes difficult for you. I know that this is not a perfect exercise. I know that sometimes what you receive cannot be seen as a representative for the territory. But I also believe that this is the first step in which the relationship with the citizens will be closer, more recurrent, and will become a sort of feature of our programs. So today's panel will give us insights into very concrete ways in which you are engaging with the citizens. So I really look forward to hearing and being inspired by your stories. And with this, I pass the floor to the panel, to Maury. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Slavik. Good morning, everyone. We have here a panel of 5 distinguished guests. It says distinguished here. I'm not sure who wrote that. From 5 different programs across all 4 strands of Interreg, who are going to share with us how they have engaged with the citizens in their program area and the stakeholders as well. They're going to dazzle and inspire us, it says here, with their findings and results. So no pressure, guys, okay? It's going to be fine. We have, from closest to furthest, geographically, guys? No? I have Oana Cristea from the Romania-Serbia program, then Silvia Comiati from the Italy-Croatia program, Margit Tuneman from Urbact, Frank Schneider helping me to try and address the gender balance on the panel from Central Europe, and Thais Abu from the Indian Ocean program. So before we start on the panel, we're going to make you work in the room a little bit with a first Slido question. Come on, guys, you had to have your phones out. You knew there was a Slido question coming. It's an Interact organised event. There's going to be a Slido question. So, simple question, particularly for the program people. What stage are you at in your post-27 consultation process? And your choices are consultation still ongoing, consultation already closed, thinking about it, consultation not yet started, not doing a consultation. Anybody answering not doing a consultation will have their desk officer ready to meet them at the door on the way out of this session. So, 112 answers and climbing, very good. I think this is extremely positive. You've obviously been listening to the Commission, which is always extremely positive, but the fact that 3/4 of you have already closed your consultation process means that you're already looking at the results and what you can do with them, how you feed them into that process. But the 20% or so where your consultation is ongoing is still fine. We still have this extended exercise. We're working towards the big event in Gorizia, Nova Gorica, at the end of March. So you still have time to move yourself up from that second category to that top category and feed in your results. Very good. Right. Turning to our panel, we have a 2-part question to start you all off. Very briefly, how have you carried out the consultation exercise? I think that's interesting just to hear if this has been done purely online, if it's been done through meetings, if it's a mixture, etc. And then, but perhaps more in depth, what are the most interesting and surprising results that have come out of it? Now, that could be interesting and surprising from your perspective because you didn't expect those answers. But it could also be perhaps difficulties you met in the consultation and getting people to respond, etc. So that's the kind of 2 parts, how you've done it and what have you found so far. And we'll start with Oana.
Thank you. Well, we have been listening to the Commission and have conducted the consultation exactly as in the toolkit, both online and in person. And we have taken advantage of the Interreg Cooperation Day precisely in order to conduct a more extensive consultation with our citizens. I would say that the in-person consultation was much more productive because we had the chance to present Interreg as a whole story and achievements to the citizens prior to asking them the 5 questions they were supposed to be answering. Also part of this consultation, I'm very proud to say that we had a lot of young people involved from the universities in the border area and also academia. PhD fellows and professors from the universities actually trying to give their opinion on what cooperation is missing at this point and what would be their dream cooperation projects, for example. Yeah, that's it.
Very good. Sylvia.
Okay, for us, we decided to go also for a mixed methodologies. We developed our survey online, both for citizens and stakeholders. We used pretty much the toolkit, but we adapted because we are a maritime program, so we really needed to actually get it more close to what the people and the stakeholders actually know in Interreg. We were very satisfied with the results because we were able to actually get more than 500 replies, which is quite a good result. And we mixed it with in-person events. We decided to go and ask to the people and to the stakeholder in existing events. We went to the user forum where we have our stakeholders. We went to the boat show where we have maritime stakeholders as well. So we decided that was a good place to grab some ideas. And we also organized 2 events, one at the Venice Film Festival, which was dedicated to our stakeholders. We also had a lot of interesting inputs from there. And we organized an event for young people, which was new for us because we, as a program, we never did it. And it was very interesting to see how interesting they are in knowing more, in getting involved, and this was really a good result from it.
And would you say that then your consultation has been a little bit in 2 parts? It's about gathering the reactions, but also expanding the knowledge and awareness? Has that been part of that process?
Yeah, I think for us, online consultation was not enough because we weren't able to really get quality feedback because a lot of some of the replies were just very going to reply to, let's say, what we already put as possible answers. So we always put other as, an input to say more, but not many respondents used it. So we also carried out interviews because we really wanted to know more, but we also wanted to have a chance to explain a bit better what we're doing and if there's something more that we can do. And this was, as I said, was extremely interesting with young people because they knew something, but they really wanted to know more. And they explained to us how willing they are to be involved and to be really considered as a target and as potential beneficiaries as well, which was something that we didn't consider as such. So it was a great chance for us to get to the territories because even though we are across border, we are in a maritime area, it's not very easy to get there in contact with people and with citizens as well. So we were a bit scared at first, I would say, not to be able to get there. But in the end, it proved to work, and I think we will use it in the future as well.
Very good. I'm particularly interested in your answers because that Italy, Croatia is where I spend my summer holidays, so it was a very important part of the process. Now we move to a completely different scale from the point of view of the program size of things, and Margit from the URBAC program. How have you made contact with citizens and stakeholders?
Yes, thank you. We also chose the twofold approach, basically, and we had, on the one hand, the online survey, which was running, and we had over 200 contributions from the online survey. And in parallel, we did consultation workshops, 12 in total. 9 of them were with our stakeholders. So across Europe a bit, some local, some at network level, some we did also at the program level. So different contributions, and I can confirm that actually the workshops were much more creative, I would say, and there were more ideas discussed. It was really worthwhile to meet in person also and to discuss the ideas and not just having a written contribution. So that worked out very well. And from those consultation workshops, we had 3 that were targeted on citizens. And for our citizen participation, we have chosen to address specifically the young people. So we had 3 consultation workshops with youth. One of them we organized in a cooperation, which was also new for us. We cooperated with a neighboring unit in the French National Authority, who is working on social programs in cities, so support for especially deprived neighborhoods. And through them, we managed to get some youth organizations involved, and we mixed their young people with the Paris Youth Council. So we had also quite a mixed workshop and participation, and that was a very interesting exercise. We talked with the young people through the approach of, traveling abroad, because there were some people who were able to travel abroad for the first time with the help of this national program. And so we took it from there, and we had the workshop on Imagine Your City, and they were working basically for us on the benefits of cooperation. And there were some very interesting results, which we can maybe talk about later.
Very good. Frank?
Yeah, thank you very much. Well, Interreg Central Europe covers 9 countries and way more than 100 million people. But now listening to Margit, I think you killed my argument that that's too many citizens to consult with. Nevertheless, we focused on stakeholders only because, like most transnational programs actually did. So we thought we really want to dig deeper on the benefits and challenges that the stakeholders see for transnational cooperation. We wanted to hear about the issues, the shortcomings and obstacles. So we did the consultation in 2 phases. And so we consulted around more than 10,000 of our stakeholders, applicants, former applicants, beneficiaries, etc. But when we thought about it, all of a sudden we were like, okay, we are sending them so many surveys. We were really afraid of survey fatigue in many ways. And then we remembered that, like, what are we good at? And we're good at cooperation. So what we did is we teamed up with 5 other transnational programs that overlap geographically with our program. Namely, that was Alpine Space, Euromed, NextMed program, Sudoa, and IPA Adrian. And we developed together an online survey questionnaire. We agreed on when to send it out from April to June. We left it open. This way we reduced the burden on the beneficiaries because they could select who they want to answer for, and we reduced the burden also on our programs because it was a one-time effort. You know, you develop one questionnaire, not many. The result of that in the end was that we received 711 responses. That was a pretty good number, we thought. Considering that we also overlap a lot with the beneficiaries probably and the applicants. And out of those, 216 were specifically replying and responding for Central Europe. And I think, then we went a bit deeper. We didn't do workshops, etc., but we, that feedback, because the questionnaire was all open questions, open-ended questions. Sometimes we were wondering, what do they mean by that? We want more flexibility. We have issues with financing, co-financing, pre-financing, whatever. So we also ran a focus group, an online focus group with 11 stakeholders, mixed levels, mixed sectors, and we used that to validate and better understand the feedback. And that was really, really helpful, especially when it came to the shortcomings and obstacles, probably.
And interesting or surprising results coming out of that?
I would say what surprised me the most, when you do such a survey, it's change-oriented. The survey is asking for shortcomings and obstacles, so you would expect that people complain a lot. So the most interesting aspect for me was that more than a third of people did not really see any issues. So they didn't really respond that there were any shortcomings or obstacles, or even explicitly said, it's all fine. It's all good. So I found that really surprising because I was expecting that we get 100% of people giving us good ideas how to further improve, but there was clearly already recognition and appreciation of the ongoing simplification efforts that we see in Interreg transnational cooperation.
Did we write that down, guys, in Regio, yeah? Yeah, good, okay, thank you. Thais, again, change of geographic scale,
Thank you.
covering the whole Indian Ocean.
Exact. 11 countries, African, Asian, and also the Indian Ocean countries, and Australia. So we launched an online consultation mid-October, so it ended last week. So we didn't get the chance to analyze all the results, so I will try to give some highlights. But we can already say that 147 people responded, which is not too bad. It's not 700, but it's quite okay. We questioned both French and foreign citizens, but also Reunionese beneficiaries, Mayotte beneficiaries also, and foreign partners. And we can say that the majority of the responses comes from French citizens and only 12 from, partner countries. So it can say that we have a lot of work to do to raise awareness on Interreg in other third EU partners countries. So yeah, I can say.
But I guess that's possibly also not so surprising when you look at the scale of the available funding and the number of partners you've had so far. I mean, the fact you're still getting responses is positive.
Yeah. So, and some other interesting results, we can say that 100% of the responses indicates that the regional cooperation is important, like for Reunionese citizens and also foreign citizens. So regional cooperation is considered as very important and so encouraged in our culture. So it can be it's good sign for the future of Interreg.
Very much so. Thank you. I'm not sure I gave Oana or Sylvia a chance to maybe talk on some of the more specific results that you've got. Anything surprising that you've found so far in looking at looking at the answers?
Surprising or not surprising enough is that our beneficiaries acknowledged a lot the simplification we provided for in 21-27. And I don't mean only simplified cost options. I also mean harmonized implementation tools because we are overlapping a bit on the territory with Romania-Hungary and Romania-Bulgaria programs, and having the beneficiaries applying for funding under Interreg with the same application form and having the same evaluation grid in all programs has helped them a lot. Also, GEMS has helped them a lot. So thank you, Interact. And maybe just to build on that, no pressure, but we still count on you for helping us. What has been more surprising, though, was the interest we got from the member state citizens on the promotion of enlargement issues in the candidate countries. So we have got 171 questionnaires filled in, 83 of them by the citizens, and the majority of them said it's important for them as member state citizens to understand why we need to bring the Western Balkans and especially Serbia into the EU. And that was interesting enough for us to see that they acknowledge this, but also it was a lot of emphasis from our citizens on the security issues. And not only on border management, because we have been financing a strategic project on that, but on all types of security. Security of critical infrastructure, for example, was highlighted. Cybersecurity was highlighted by the citizens. And this was, surprising enough for us.
Okay, for us, I would say there was a kind of a confirmation of, I would say, two topics that we already work on, but we need to maybe work more. One is the connection, the transport between the two shores. It's still felt as a big obstacle to exchanges, to cooperation, and we need more, we know. It's one of the key challenges of our area, and we also are aware that as Interreg we cannot change it completely. We can push, but we need to seek maybe for cooperation with other funds. We need to work with other at regional level and national level to really make a change on this respect. But both stakeholders and citizens really feel like connectivity is still a big issue in the area. So this is for us a confirmation that we are on the good track, but maybe a request to be more proactive and to be more to push more on that. And in terms of surprises, I would say there was quite some emphasis on looking for more synergies at regional level. Citizens and stakeholders in particular, they were feeling that there's not enough sustainability results because synergies are lacking, and we should be more working better at different policy level with the regions, and in order to make the results more sustainable over time. So that was something that we know we are working on it, but we know we can do more and better with the organizations that with our partner organization for sure. So that was a bit surprising because they really feel it as something that it's not only a program problem, but it's also a stakeholder problem. So this is something to think about.
I mean, it's interesting on the transport side. I guess interpreting that, though, you would argue that the people replying very much view the area as a genuine cross-border area. Because if they're looking at the transport link, then they're looking at the challenge of the maritime links between the two countries, and therefore they're viewing it very much as that cross-border zone, and that they're not focusing so much on their side of the Adriatic necessarily.
Yeah, one of the things that came up was indeed that there was a big change in the way that the two shores see each other over time, because you know that Croatia entered the EU in 2013, so it's 11 years, it's not a long time, but I would see that in these two programming periods, there were a lot of progress in the way that Italian and Croatian citizens look at each other, see each other. They actually, this was brought up in the questionnaires a lot, that the perception has changed over time, that there is more and more collaboration, there is more and more sense of cooperation, but also on an equal level. I'm not, you know, we are a member state for many, many years. Croatia is a pretty new member state, but there is this gap that you would imagine that has been completely or almost filled up. So this is a very good sign. And it's in line with what you say, that they want to get more close, they want to have more options to connect and to exchange, and transport in a maritime environment is crucial. Yeah. So
very positive indeed. Frank, you wanted to come in, sorry, and then we'll come back to Margaret.
Yeah, because something surprising maybe, when you look into the data, what the responses you receive, you get the feeling that Interreg transnational cooperation is a very modern financing instrument. So it really seems to be the right instrument for many stakeholders out there to tackle the pressing challenges, and very often these challenges are not thematically defined. Of course, they want to work on the green and digital transition, competitiveness, etc. But what we also saw in the feedback is much linked to what Enrico Letta was writing in his report, what you see in the 9th Cohesion Report, the fragmentation of policy frameworks. So, and the missing multi-level cooperation dimension. And all that was mentioned like as the big strengths of transnational cooperation, that they can work with different kind of stakeholders that they would have no chance to cooperate with in any other framework. And they can work on governance issues. They didn't mention governance as such, probably, but they were asking strongly for a policy harmonization. Like many aspects, citizen participation, are these aspects that belong also to governance. So this is something that we found really interesting and reassuring. So maybe that was another surprise, that the stakeholders seem to share our belief in transnational cooperation a lot or so.
Thank you. Margaret?
Yeah, thank you. Actually, just to confirm what Frank just said, one surprising or interesting result for us was also that there was a strong sense that the key features of the program were actually confirmed, and which was quite reassuring. So this integrated approach, cross-sectoral cooperation, a very strong place-based ownership that we have in the URBAC program, very strong local participation, which is then backed up by a good cooperation across the levels. So also our national URBAC points and monitoring committee members who support very much in their shared management the implementation in the specific country. This was kind of an architecture of the program that was really confirmed. It was also confirmed that this kind of urban cooperation is really a key also to foster the cohesion and this kind of European togetherness, this feeling of belonging on the ground. Many people said URBAC is for us like an Erasmus for urban professionals, for urban city administrators. And they were really appreciating this possibility to exchange knowledge and to get capacity building at a European scale. It was also surprising that there was quite some interest from the IPA countries and even Ukraine, Moldova. We had even contributions from Georgia. So there's a lot of interest in this URBAC method, also from cities beyond the European Union, which we are hopefully capable to meet these expectations. And maybe one surprising result still is that we had the impression that the internal architecture, so to say, of the program is very well perceived, and it's a kind of family of URBAC members. But there is some more expectation towards the outside. So the links to other programs, or the links and the embeddedness of URBAC within the greater cohesion picture, so to say, or even European policies in general, is sometimes missing a bit. And there was a plea for more coherence between the different programs and initiatives tackling cities. Right. Because they popped up more and more in the past, and sometimes from the user's perspective, from the cities and the beneficiaries, it's getting a bit fuzzy, and it's not so clear what's the benefit if I join here or there, or what's your profile, what's the added value. And there I think we can still work on, and maybe that's also something for us now to work on the future, to make this urban cooperation a bit a stronger part of the urban dimension in the cohesion policy.
And of course that fits very well with the kind of the new higher visible priority on urban issues that we're seeing in the mandate letters for the new college. So there's quite a strong link there. I'm not going to ask you, Thais, on the surprise issues because you're still analysing the results, but if there's something you can add?
Yeah, maybe not surprising, but some results to highlight. A majority of people that responded found that our specific objectives well chosen. So sustainable development, research, economic development, exchanges and stuff. But a majority of citizens from other partner countries want to insist on policies about sustainable development. It's very important, environment, biodiversity. So it's not surprising, but it's important, yeah.
Very good. So, thank you. End of round one. And we're back to Slido. 2 questions this time. Firstly, you have a challenge. Question 1, you have to compete with Frank's 711 replies. So your question for those of you out there, how many people or stakeholders have replied to your consultation exercise?
700 for 6.
He was still taking the credit for it. It depends if you get beaten in the Slido, you see. I hope that number at the top is either 300 to 400 or not 300,000. Oh, somebody's beaten you. They've got 745 citizens at the bottom there. I mean, we're aware, obviously, this is always a challenging exercise. How do you draw people into this process? How do you ensure people take part? And we've heard a little bit here about, you know, that approach of mixing in online and participatory events to try and get that information. But I think these kind of numbers, in all seriousness, you know, in the hundreds, mean that you're getting a real flavor for, you know, what people think and feel about cooperation and your cooperation programs. Very good. Then we've got a word cloud question, I think, for you next. What is the consultation telling you about the image of Interreg in your program area? That's a trickier one to answer as well. Somebody's got autocorrect on. I mean, I'd characterize what we're seeing running past. We have 50 or so answers there. That there's a, you know, a high element of positivity and a recognition for what's there. There are some answers picking up maybe insufficient awareness still of what's happening. Somebody wants more advance payments. I got that one. Yeah, was your phone? No? Yeah, okay. But yeah, there's a strong element of positivity there and the importance of cooperation making a difference. And that ties in well now to our second round of questions. Because thinking on what you've said so far and what you've found and what you've seen in these reactions, essentially my question is, what do you do next? So on the basis of what you've seen in these results, what's your thinking about how you move forward? And I would say in 3 different elements. What do you do now already in the 21-27 program? Is there something that you can take on board and already adapt? What are you thinking about in the sense of what differences might I need to make for the next program? And the third element, which is perhaps, you know, the wider aspect of this, what do the results I've seen, what impact might they need to have on the next set of regulations? So those kind of 3 levels now, next program, next regulatory framework.
Well, you know me, I'm always ahead of the learning curve. So for the last call, because we don't have a lot of money left, just 8 million euro, but what we are planning to do is precisely build on what the beneficiaries and stakeholders have been telling us during the consultation process. And they have been asking for an easier access to the money. What we have been implementing so far during our call for proposal is what I call a contest of creative writing and proficiency in English. And we want to move away a bit from this perspective, and for the last call to have a two-step approach with concept notes and maybe then help them fine-tune their final application form. So we already taken on board for this programming period what they have been asking for. For the next programming period, and since I've been coming to the plenary from the performance-based approach, I think we are strongly favoring this performance-based approach based on what the stakeholders have been asking. And I'm not meaning only at the upper level. We are ambitious enough to try it also for the lower level. Because at the end of the day, the programs should know what they're aiming to achieve with the EU money. Also, our beneficiaries are knowledgeable enough with 3 programming periods now under IPA to know what they want to achieve with their project results. So maybe it makes no sense to finance dissipate projects, not connecting the dot and not having a performance, real performance embedded in their projects and in the overall program. And what we are, because we kind of started the programming, you know, we did that last time around while the Commission was still drafting the regulations. We started the programming, and yeah, we believe it was quite successful. Maybe it's an idea we are exploring now to have a pipeline of projects identified from the programming phase, so they could hit the ground running when we got the program adopted, and it will all be driven by this performance-based approach. For the next regulations, I mean, the whole purpose of this event was to send the message to the Commission, what do we need? So I call them preconditions. Some other programs are calling them red lines. So yeah, more pre-financing money? Yeah. Yes, Thais acknowledges the need. Then more flexibility. Maybe that I'm also too ambitious, but flexibility in terms of not very strict deadlines in meeting the milestones and targets. So maybe more flexibility compared to RRF, not flexibility in shifting the allocations that much. And what else? As a precondition, I would say that the sooner we get the draft regulations, the better it would be.
Well, I can agree with the last point. Sooner we get the regulations, the happier we'd be as well. I think your adaptability in relation to your final call is very interesting. I think that's the kind of example that will be very useful for sharing to the wider Interreg community. You see that coming through in a lot of the comments, I think, in the course of the last day or so. For all the positivity, there's still the challenge of the perceived complexity of application process, the formalized aspects of those, and the challenges perhaps for people who've been less involved so far, who maybe have less capacity to handle that. So by taking a very different approach to the, if you like, the classic approach that you've taken in Romania, Serbia, it'll be interesting to see what kind of applicants you get, if it's new people, new actors coming forward. So that will be very interesting to see. Thank you. Sylvia.
Yeah, for us, a few things we can do already in this programming period. Definitely communicating better. This was one of the things that came up. Interreg is not enough visible yet. So we need to work better with the projects, I think. We have already established a network of communication officers from all our projects. We work with them. We see that there is a general lack of capacity in communicating well what they're doing throughout the development of the projects, because they tend to have peak communication points, moments, but they need to understand, they need to continuously communicate what they're doing in the territories, to involve the people, to know what are the achievements, not to come just at the very last moment of the project with, oh my God, I had to do this because I have a minimum requirement for communication to meet. That's not the way. So this is something that came out also from the consultations, that there was not enough visibility, so we need to push on that. This is something we can do now. Another thing, as I said before, we need to find more occasions to involve young people. We have it as a goal in our program. Since the programming period, we discussed about how to do it. Now we have seen a few options, and we have to go on in this direction because it's very important. For the future, I think we need to work better and more on ISO 1. This is something we learn now in this programming period. We need to guide more our beneficiaries on exploiting ISO 1 as much as possible, because it can really create an added value in our opinion. But still, in this programming period, is not so far giving the results we were hoping for. For the regulation, we as a program work a lot on synergies and capitalization. We really believe they are crucial aspects to make the results more known and reusable in the territories. So we think that for the future we would need some support on this, maybe not constraints, but support from the regulation on that. And the other thing connected to what I was saying before about the transport, we would need some platform to work with the mainstream, which would be stronger platform to work together to get to the results together, especially in program areas or in policy areas where we need to join forces, because as Interreg we can do some part of the work, but not all of it. So that would be needed.
Very good, thank you. Margaret, how to address these results that you've had?
Yeah, thank you. Well, we are still at the moment at the process of having the report approved by the monitoring committee. In the report, we have identified a couple of recommendations, and we grouped them into different recommendations. On the one hand, on post-2027, and on the other hand, on programming for improvement now and for improvement later. So we had to group that a little bit, and we're intending to have a discussion with the monitoring committee how to go about the different recommendations, what we take up, what we don't. I mean, you don't have to agree with everything that comes up from the consultation, so there needs to be a position making also by the monitoring committee and managing authority, of course. So that we're going to do as a next step. And maybe two things that came up, which were very strongly mentioned by the stakeholders. On the one hand, a bit like you also said, the visibility and especially the sustainability of projects. So the question, how do you manage to go beyond the actual cooperation phase and have more impact in the longer term? That is linked to funding, of course, but not only. And now we have the chance at the moment in URBAC to have a couple of testing actions implemented with the funding from URBAC. But of course, there's always the question, how do you get the follow-up funding, and how can you make the projects more sustainable over time? So this was the big keyword, over time. It needs to be more sustainable. This is something that we also want to work on, and probably it's for us quite important to look more for the dialogue also with the other programs, mainstream programs, other urban initiatives. We now already have quite a close cooperation with the European Urban Initiative, of course. And I think in terms of how to do that for the future, we need to have a closer dialogue with these key partners as well to come up with some own proposals also, or some own ideas at least, to support the discussion, how it could work even better in the future.
Thank you. I think one of the challenges we often have lived with Interreg, with cohesion policy generally, but with Interreg, is this sense that we're always running to catch up. So you're always living in the moment, in the implementation of your actual program. In your spare time, you're trying to close the previous program. And then, no, we absolutely have no time to even think about the future yet. So you're trying to do three things at once. And I think what is interesting in this period, looking at some of the numbers, is how advanced, compared to perhaps the average performance we've seen in the past, some programs are at. And you've got Romania, Serbia, Anna said, they've got 8 million left out of 75 million. The rest is already committed at project level. And Central Europe, I think, Frank, you're virtually finished, more or less, from a project process. And what you're creating there is a little bit that space in time to have more preparatory phase next time round. So I'm not leading that question on, Frank, in case that wasn't how you were going to answer it. But how do you intend to address the results from the process you've seen so far?
Yeah, thank you. Let me pick up what I saw in the feedback on slide, or someone was writing the story is told. That would be a bit sad. So we're working on a new story, but it's going to be a sequel. It's not going to be a new film overall. So I think that's a crucial point. We get the feeling from the feedback, because I'm referring to the feedback again from the stakeholders, that we do not need a big revolution, really. There's more the need for evolution, for making things better, work better for them. So I think thematically, strategically, they like us a lot already. Things work for them. In terms of implementation, I think there's still some room for improvement. And me personally, I'm a communications person, or at least with a communications background. PBA is very interesting to follow as a discussion. What I'm interested in most as a comms person is not so much how do you turn money that you put in into results. What I'm interested in are the results of a high quality, because this is what we have right now. This is what they like in the feedback. We saw it. What do you appreciate about Interreg these days? They wrote like that we can work on developing fitting new solutions for our area. And this is something linked to capacity building. And that's why I said it's a modern instrument, because this is what we need more of in the future. So we want to keep that focus in the next program period. We hope the regulation will allow us to do so. We, as a program, do believe in ISO 1 and governance, because we do get, we see a high interest in that, and we were also skeptical. Are beneficiaries going to, or applicants going to understand this? Isn't that too complicated and complex? No, it ain't. I think the way you phrase it and you put it, they get it, and then you have fantastic projects coming out of that. So this is something for the future. What do? We heard about synergies, coordination, and all that. This is something we are taking care of already in this programming period. As I said, we are financing already 100 projects. We're nearly done, more than 85%. We have already allocated to projects, so very few funds left. But tomorrow we will have also this workshop on our final call, the fourth call, that will open hopefully next year. The capitalization call, and here we want to encourage coordination with the CBC programs in our area. And this is something that we haven't done before. We can see the need also again in the feedback, that they want to coordinate, that they want to work together, that they want to sustain their results. Sustainability, impact of results was a big issue in many feedbacks. So this is something we are already looking into now. And then for the European Commission as such, I think Oana already mentioned it most, and Sylvia and Margaret. So to keep it simple, I think it would be great if the European Commission, when you draft the regulations, you keep the beneficiaries and the applicants in mind, how to make their lives simpler. I think this is just about it. And then also, if you make life at the same time simpler for us as program authorities, that'd be really amazing.
No pressure. Thank you.
We could have a parallel conversation about how little the Commission actually regulates at the beneficiary level when you read the regulation, and how much is actually created at programme level. But we won't go there just now. Thijs, I think you know, we often emphasise the unique nature of the outermost region cooperation programmes, and the you know, if we're looking at synergies and communication, you're talking about a different scale and a different variety of actors involved there. I mean, what are your thoughts about where we stand and what we can do with some of the results that you might get from this exercise?
Yeah, thank you. Actually, that's true that we are a peculiar program, but when I listen to my colleagues, I sense some very similar results. Not much from the citizens, but from the stakeholders. A lot of simplification are asked, a lot of advanced to benefit from ERDF advances. That's something that we find a lot. Adaptabilities, to adapt the program to the realities of our cooperation with EU, non-EU countries. And also some things that are very specific to our geographic zone. For example, the will to cooperate with South Africa. 6 of our stakeholders responded that, so it's very important for us, and South Africa is part of our perimeter, but it didn't give official agreement yet, so we work on that, and we hope that the Commission will help us to have this agreement for the next programmation. And yeah, that's what I can say for now.
Very good. Thank you. I think, again, what's important to draw from that kind of process, you know, we asked a little bit of a leading question there about what are you doing now, what are you thinking about already for the future, what do you want the Commission to do better. But I think what's very positive is hearing about how adaptable programs are. And again, you know, already drawing lessons for this period, already looking at, well, hang on, we're 2024, but we've still got 4 or 5 years of implementation. What can we do now? Adapting there, but already looking ahead and talking about the examples next time round. Where will we be in 2028 when we start the next program, etc. And we're always in this situation where it's just round the corner, but at the same time, it's 4 years away. So the fact that we are already kind of working together with this mindset about how do we get to the right position at the start of the next period to do even better than we're doing now is very much, I think, the positive mindset that we want to see and encourage. So thank you from my side for that positivity and for your input, and perhaps a round of applause for our panelists at this stage. Now, another Slido. Some of you already started answering. This is really a kind of much more open question based on, let's say, imagine you're being consulted by an Interreg program on the future. What would be your dream topic for a future Interreg project? What would you love to be able to cooperate on? I don't see rugby league there yet. I'm very disappointed. I thought that would be much higher up the agenda. Peace and sustainability, very high. Sustainable development there as well. Security, which was one of your points, Oana, coming up a lot in the Romania-Serbia consultation. And again, it's an element to underline about the level of diversity that we have across Interreg. You're seeing a real variety of content there. And And again, you know, this is actually more from program actors rather than necessarily stakeholders as such. So it again underlines the need for that flexibility that a number of you referred to, because you have evident different prioritizations in different programs. Yeah, please.
I would just like to come in because I see the trust there, trust building and all that. And I think we didn't really touch on that, but it's an important, especially for transnational cooperation, but also cross-border for sure, I suppose, and also the interregional programs. This is a dimension that is crucial for Interreg. And again, I'm always coming back to being a modern instrument. Trust building wasn't probably that crucial in the noughties and the second decade of the century, but it's becoming increasingly important to build trust and to have trust in each other in Europe, and it also has economic consequences. I think there was just recently this paper by Andres Rodriguez Posé saying that trust is the prerequisite for economic development. So it's not like something fluffy, something non-tangible. It's very tangible, and this is also what we deliver. And I think this is something that we cannot emphasize enough, that we work on that.
Yeah, I very much agree. I think the trust dimension is one of the elements from my side that is so crucial to the effective functioning of multi-country programs. It's the relationships and partnerships you build and create across the border with your partners, so that the next time you're sitting in a monitoring committee, the next time you're sitting having a difficult discussion, you know the people opposite, you trust them, and you know that you're going to be able to find a solution there. And I think it's one of the key points that you have in how you approach Interreg. Interreg is never built in a day. You can't sit down on a brand new border and suddenly say, we have a perfect set of cooperation processes here. It's something that has to be worked at, constructed, with trust building across that. And it applies at program level and project level as well. Thank you all very much for your proactive Slido participation. And I'd like to hand over to my colleague Simona, who's been sitting busily taking notes all the way through the session, and is going to close this up for us. Simona.
Thank you, Maury. Indeed, this is a very challenging task, because I have two papers which are really very full, and I don't know what to highlight more. That was a lot to highlight. But it was a very interesting discussion, and I believe that my colleagues from the Commission share that I have a very positive feeling about this session. First of all, about the way you engaged in the public consultation. I think that the figures show that you have taken this exercise extremely seriously, and we are really grateful for that. The numbers are showing that the participation of stakeholders, but also the citizens, was really tangible. It is something that we can build on, and I think that this was one of the main purposes also for this consultation, to take this as an opportunity for you to link with the partners in your territories. I think that we were also very happy to hear that not only online consultations work, but also the physical meetings, and also absolutely great to hear about the involvement of the young people. That's something where I will still come again about it. We see this as extremely rewarding and important to engage with the young people. We were very curious to hear about the emerging results, because as it was said also by our director, it is a one-off exercise, a unique one. So we were curious. So let me share with you what I put down, noted as the main outcome. So again, the opportunity to explain Interreg to your stakeholders and mainly to your citizens is something which is valuable in itself. I heard a lot about the recognition for cooperation, for transnational cooperation, for interregional cooperation, for cross-border, but the recognition for what cooperation is, what it represents, was very strongly present. We heard a lot about the simplification. We must say that this is something which rhymes with us a lot, because for 21-27, and Moray, I know that he will certainly agree that we put a lot of emphasis into simplification. and we are happy to hear that it pays off, that people recognize that, this effort. The beneficiaries recognize it. It was interesting to hear about the ambitions and aspirations of the citizens in terms, for example, of things that Interreg does not do or cannot do fully, like the security or connectivity. But in this respect, of course, what we need to take into it is that we need to connect even better with the other EU instruments. This is of course, inevitable. What we heard also was about the sustainability of results. That's a big issue, to keep the results of the projects over time. Also the work of the cooperation structures which are supported through the projects, namely for the governance. There was a plea for more coherence over EU programs. That was very clear, also coming out. What we heard about the image of Interreg, again, a very positive. Most of the replies were very positive, but it was positive. But there is still an issue of the awareness. We need to communicate more and better. We need to link better with the people in our territories. We also heard a lot of. We also heard the message about the evolution and not revolution. Clearly, the community does not want us to make a revolution, but to make small adjustments. Well, this is something you have heard. We cannot go for business as usual. We hear you, but at the same time, there will be the need to adapt. We heard about the dream projects. I will not comment more on that. I think that Moray put it very well, that there is a diversity in our Interreg community, and this is the beauty of Interreg, that we are a place-based policy, that every program can adapt to its territory, to its context. Clearly, there are big differences between what transnational cooperation's aspirations are and cross-border. Now, let me summarize a bit what is it that we want now you to do as the next steps to come out of this exercise. So you were reminded that by the end of this year, we are expecting that you all send us your harvesting reports. You have the template for how the report should look like in the toolkit. You know that it should be in English, 15 to 20 pages, more or less, very concise and simple language. I think it's important that we communicate well for that. Do not forget interesting quotes, because they make this exercise juicy and fresh. And do not forget about the new ideas and out-of-the-box thinking. If there are new ideas, please put them in, because those will be the basics for us when then we come to Gorizia, Nova Gorica on the day 2, where we expect we will have more than 500 people, maybe 550 or more. There will be 3 panels where the results, the gist of your results will be presented and discussed also with the stakeholders, with the representatives of the politicians, also with the young people. So, and as a second step, after Gorizia, Nova Gorica, We are already in the process of contracting an external expert who knows Interreg in order for us to have to summarize all the results of the harvesting reports and to have them nicely presented in an overall report. Last but not least, what do we think that you should take out of this exercise? It is not, and it came clearly out of the panelists as well, that this is not only an exercise that you do because the Commission asks you to do it. It should be the moment for you to take the opportunity to link better with your communities, with your stakeholders, with your citizens. Take this opportunity and put the results on your website, put your position, what you think about these results, and connect and try to keep this relationship over time. Try to build this larger program community. I know it's not at all easy, but it is a momentum that you are creating by this consultation, clearly. And last but not least, let's finish with the young people. We, from our young youth event, we had a great impressions, and we were impressed by the energy and by the enthusiasm that they can bring. So we really sincerely recommend that you, when you can, set youth councils for your programs, get young people on board, because it is rewarding and it really pays off. So I'm just finishing this try to open Interreg even further, because we see that this is something which is really needed. Thank you very much.
So, me again, but only for 3 minutes, and then we finish on time, which I just pay tribute to amazing timekeeping on the stage there. So the good news is you have 2 hours for lunch. The bad news is we're asking you to work for part of it. So there is more time. We're all going to have an hour. My colleagues also have asked very nicely if they can have something to eat too. So we'll have an hour, no pressure. And then in the second hour, we invite you to come, not necessarily all as one, but in small groups if you want to make your way into the France room. We have 5 stands from Interact. And we also have Interreg Ivy present. So if you haven't got an Ivy at the minute, or you're thinking about having an Ivy, Interact's currently hosting 2. We actually were doing the content of this session. It was organized by our Ivy based in Bratislava. So we fully stand behind the Ivy movement. We're very supportive of it and encourage you to also come talk to them as well as us. Just quickly from Interreg side also, thank you to DG REGIO, thank you for our speakers, thank you for our panel as well for the very interesting, entertaining and punctual session. Before lunch, I know that's very important. And at this point, we'll close the first plenary. We'll come back this afternoon at 2:30, where my colleagues will also, in another plenary, tell you what happened in the various breakout rooms. They have potentially some questions for you. And we'll close then the full event in our second plenary starting at 2:30. And after the second plenary, there is another 45 minutes to an hour for more networking downstairs. So unless you're running to the airport, there should be plenty of time to have coffee. So apologies in advance after an hour, but we'll come and chase you to come and see us in the France room and enjoy your lunch.